been a bit of a funny old week, I think. For a lot of us, there are a lot of different things going on at the moment, so I hope you are all doing okay, and thanks for tuning in. Hopefully in the next half an hour, 40 minutes, we can all find a little bit of calm, a little bit of relaxation. I think I've noticed in myself this week that I've needed to sort of slow down a little bit, and so that's what this evening's going to be about. I think a lot of people, speaking to friends and family, I think a lot of people are finding at the moment that some of us have got a bit of extra time, maybe time that we wouldn't normally have in the week, and I think a lot of people are feeling some pressure to kind of fill that time, and actually it's, I think, important at the moment just to recognise that actually it's okay just to be a bit still and just to slow down a little bit and use this time just to be still and be a bit slower, and not to be racing to do and achieve and meet all of your targets and things, and I think that's okay. So I think for this evening I invite you just to find a little bit of calm, find a little bit of stillness, and we'll be moving through some slower, more restorative style sequences and postures, and just really using our breath to find that space, find that time for ourselves, and just really releasing, slowing down the body, slowing down the mind, and regaining a little bit of that focus that I think we can so easily lose sight of, really, when everything seems quite chaotic and uncertain and all of those things. So find yourself a space as quiet as you can, and it doesn't matter how much space you have. Everything we do, we will just find a way to utilise the space and the time that we have. So when you're ready, taking a nice comfortable cross-legged position, taking the flesh of the buttocks out to the side so you're sitting on your sit bones, and we'll, with your legs crossed if that's comfortable, or taking the legs out in front of you, taking the hands down into the lap, and either keeping the eyes open or closing down the eyes. Just going to start by taking a few nice, deep, long breaths. So breathing in through the nose, filling the lungs, expanding the ribcage, and then exhaling out through the mouth. One more, taking a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Letting it all go, taking another deep breath in and out through the mouth. Now breathing in and out through the nose, slowing down the breath, letting the shoulders melt away from the ears, keeping the spine long, elongating through the spine, imagining you're being pulled gently up through the crown of your head, keeping the back of the neck long, keeping the face, the body, the legs relaxed. Going to start just by gently warming up the neck, so you can either keep the eyes closed and follow my voice, or take a look. We're just going to drop the chin down to the chest as we exhale. Then inhaling, taking the chin up over the right shoulder, gazing up towards the ceiling, and then exhaling, coming down over that left shoulder, making just gentle circles with the neck. So inhaling, gazing up to the sky, and then exhaling, coming down over the left. Inhaling, gazing up, and exhaling, gazing down over the left. Coming now onto the other side. Inhaling, coming up over the left shoulder up to the sky, and then exhaling, coming down over the right. Inhaling once more, gazing to the sky, and then exhaling, coming back down to the center. One more, inhaling, gazing up, exhaling, taking the chin down to the chest, coming back up to a neutral position. We're going to take the right hand on top of the head and then sliding it down over that left ear, taking the left hand out to the side of the body, stretching the fingers of the left hand a couple of inches off the floor, and then gently taking the right hand down, bending the head over that right shoulder, stretching through the left fingers, and really opening that left side of the neck, finding that point of stretch, maybe stretching through the left fingers, breathing deeply here, and then inhaling, coming back to the center, swapping the hands, taking the right hand out to the side, exhaling, stretching the fingers down, taking the head over to the left, keeping the eyes either closed or softly gazing forwards. Inhaling, coming back to the center. I'm going to take the legs out in front of you here, taking the feet together, the toes gently curling back towards you. We're just going to take the hands out in front of you and make fists with the hands, dropping the shoulders away from the edge. Just going to warm up the wrists, taking small circles, keeping the legs engaged. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And coming the other way for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to take the hands out in front. We're going to bend the hand, that left hand, so the palm is facing away from you. We're going to stretch down the backs of each finger, so taking hold of the little finger, drawing it towards you, moving to the ring finger, stretching the other fingers out away from you, really opening through the backs of each of those fingers. Moving to the middle finger, the index finger, and the thumb of that left hand. And then drawing all of the fingers towards you, getting a really nice stretch down that left wrist. Good, then coming onto the other side, so taking the little finger towards you, the ring finger, the middle finger, the index finger, drawing the shoulders away from the ears, and the thumb. And taking all of the fingers towards you, opening down the back of that right wrist. And taking the hands down to rest by your side. You're just going to slowly take some circles with the feet. So taking some circles, keeping the legs strong, keeping the feet moving as one, in one direction and then the other direction. Good. Good, and then keeping that left leg straight down in front of you, we're going to bend the right knee, coming into our Janushirasana. So just starting to warm up down the back of that left leg. So here, optional to take a belt, linking the belt around that left foot. So either holding onto the belt or just holding onto the foot. We're going to inhale as we gaze forward, keep that leg strong. And then exhale, folding down over that left leg. Keeping the back nice and long. Keeping the toes drawing up to you, the kneecap pulling up towards the thigh. Just breathing here. by keeping the gaze beyond the top of that big toe, it keeps the spine nice and straight. When we look down, we tend to round through the spine. So inhaling, coming back up, taking the right foot out in front of you and bending that left foot into the right thigh. Inhaling, elongating the spine, and then exhaling, folding forwards. Again, either taking hold of a belt or a strap or something, anything you have around that foot, taking hold of the foot. Allowing the breath to deepen and lengthen here as you fold over that right leg, the back nice and straight, gazing beyond that front big toe. Good, and then inhaling, coming up to the centre, moving the belt to one side. You're going to take that left foot out in front of you again. We're going to come into a twist here. So taking the right foot up and over that left knee. We're going to take the right hand out behind us. That left arm draws up and over that right knee. Taking the gaze over that right shoulder. Just keeping the spine nice and upright, avoiding the temptation to slouch down too much in the back. So keeping nice and upright, gazing over that right shoulder. Inhaling, lengthening, and then exhaling and twisting a little deeper. And then inhaling, coming back to the centre, stretching that right leg out in front of you, taking the left foot this time up and over the knee, taking the left hand down to the side of the left hip, inhaling, coming up with that right arm, and then exhaling, twisting and gazing over that left shoulder, pointing the toes of that right foot up towards you, keeping the leg nice and strong. Good, and then inhaling, coming back to the centre, bringing the feet in towards the groin now. So we're coming into our Baddha Konasana butterfly pose. So drawing the feet close to the groin and then starting to open the feet like a book. So the knees are drawing down to the mat. You're going to gaze up as you inhale and roll the shoulders away from the ears, keeping the back nice and long and keeping the thumbs underneath the feet. Just going to start to open the hips here. So you can take the elbows down to the inside of the knees if that feels good. Otherwise, just staying here, keeping the gaze can be down the back of the neck, long, just gently working here to open in the hips. Keeping the upper body soft, keeping the knees working down towards the ground, elongating the breath, breathing in and out through the nose. Again, you can close down the eyes here if that feels good. And keeping the gaze just softly beyond those toes. Good, then drawing the knees gently in to the centre. We're going to roll over our knees. Coming now down into our child's pose. So taking the feet together, taking the knees to the width of the mat. We're going to start by just sitting back on our heels. We want to try and keep the heels, the sit bones in contact with the heels as we start to move forward. So taking it nice and slowly, we're going to come up onto our fingertips, sinking the hips back down, taking the gaze forwards, keeping the fingers up on fingertips first of all, and then starting to draw the chest forwards, taking the hands down to flat, spreading the fingers wide, either staying up here or starting to draw the chest and the head down to the ground. So keeping it here is quite an active pose, so really working through the hands, so spreading the grip nice and wide with the fingers, with the middle finger still pointing forwards, and just softening the head down to the ground, sinking the hips back down, to the heels. Good, and then we're going to take a bit of a side stretch here. So taking the body over towards that right hand, we're going to walk the hands to the right, taking the left hand on top of the right, and then again dropping the head down, so that you're really feeling that nice opening stretch along the left side of the body. Coming back to centre, walking the hands to the centre, and then walking the hands over to the left this time, taking the right hand on top of the left, again dropping the body down in between the hands, taking the stretch now on the right side of the body. Keeping sinking back with the hips to the heels whilst you're reaching to that left side. And coming back to the centre. I'm going to come up now into our tabletop position, so drawing the knees so that they're hip width apart, sitting underneath the hips, planting the hands down wide. So the hands are underneath the shoulders and the hips are underneath the knees are underneath the hips. We're going to take a few rounds of cat-cow here just to warm up the spine and the lower back. So we're going to inhale, so we dip the hips, soften the belly and gaze up to the ceiling. And then exhale, rounding through the spine, tucking the chin towards the chest. Inhaling, dipping the hips, the head coming up last. So imagining you're moving like an S bend, always moving from the hips first and the head follows last. So tucking the chin in last again. Inhaling, leading with the hips, tucking the tailbone, softening the belly, gazing up to the sky, and then exhaling, leading with the hips, rounding through the spine, tucking the chin towards the chest. Let's do one more. Inhaling, dipping the hips, gazing up to the sky, and then exhaling, rounding, coming back now into our neutral tabletop position. So I'm just going to turn around here so you can see a little better. So we're going to come now into our side opening. So we're going to do our thread the needle. So we're going to take the weight into the left hand as we inhale, raise the right arm up to the sky, opening the chest, and then exhaling, folding that arm through, coming to rest on the side of that right cheek. Inhaling, opening the chest, exhaling, folding that arm through, resting on that right side of the face. One more. Inhaling, arms coming up, exhaling, folding through. Inhaling, coming back to tabletop. Inhaling, left arm coming up this time, exhaling, folding through. Keeping that right arm bent away from the face. Inhaling, left arm coming up, right, and folding through, resting on the left side. One more. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, folding through. Inhaling, coming back to tabletop. We're going to tuck the toes, coming up now into our downward facing dog. So just taking a moment here, being really gentle, really slow, maybe pedaling out the legs left to right. Good. Keeping the fingertips spreading wide, middle fingers facing forward, thumbs turning in towards one another. Shoulders rolling away from the ears. I'm going to sink the weight now back into the heels, finding some stillness here. So allowing the breath to be really long. Tucking the chin down towards the chest, gazing towards the navel. going to slowly now walk our feet and keep a slight bend in the legs up to the front of the mat. We're just going to fold forwards here, so allow the head to be heavy. Maybe taking a slight bend in the knees, maybe holding onto opposite elbows, just rocking gently from side to side. And then from here we're going to release the elbows. It's going to slowly roll up through the spine, vertebra by vertebra. Taking the arms up above the head, taking a slight back bend here, so keeping the legs strong, tucking the tailbone, gazing up towards the thumbs. And then exhaling, drawing the hands through heart center down to Tadasana. So coming now into our Malasana Yogi squat. So we're going to take the feet to hip width apart, maybe a little wider, and turning the toes outwards. We're going to take the hands towards the chest and drop down into our yogi squat. So if it's too much to stay here, you can take a bit of tension out of the legs coming up onto tiptoes, or you can take the legs even wider, or you can come up just to a sort of half squat. So come to wherever's comfortable for you. If you want a bit more of a challenge, you can start to bring your feet closer together. So we're going to really use the elbows in the knees, keeping the back nice and long, hands in front of the heart center. Just breathing here, drawing the shoulders away from the ears. I'm going to take a bit of a side opening here, so taking the right hand down in front of that right knee. We're going to inhale, take the left arm up to the sky, taking the gaze up towards that left hand, and then exhaling, coming back through heart center, and then taking the left hand to the front of the left knee, inhaling, drawing that right hand up to the sky, and then exhaling, coming back through center, and then exhaling, folding forward, bringing the feet back together, allowing the head to be heavy. Maybe again just pedaling out one leg, then the other. Good. Again, we're going to roll up gently here, one vertebra at a time. Inhaling, taking the arms up to the sky, and exhaling, drawing the hands down in front of the chest. Okay, we're going to take a little vinyasa here, so inhaling, taking the arms up to the sky, taking a slight back bend, and then folding forwards. Inhaling, coming up either to fingertips and resting the hands on the shins, gazing forwards with a flat back, and then planting the hands, stepping the right foot, stepping the left foot back to our plank pose. So we're really going to push the ground away from us here, so our feet are hip distance apart, our body, our legs and our torso all in one line, minimizing that gap between the shoulders. You bend the knees, drop the chest, inhale, coming through into our baby cobra, so zipping the legs together, taking the hands just off the mat, taking the weight out of the hands, gazing forwards and then planting the hands. We're going to tuck the toes, pushing back through our child's pose and just taking a moment's rest here in our child's pose. So the knees can either be wide or the knees can come together, taking the hands down either side of the knees and just dropping the head down to the mat. So just taking a moment here just to come back down, reconnect with your breath, finding that length in soften your breath, and just allowing the body to settle back down before coming into some postures, some postures that will hold for a little bit longer, just allowing that real deep release and stretching there. So when you're ready, from your child's pose, just coming up through our tabletop, taking the knees to hip width apart, tucking the toes. We're going to come up into our downward facing dog. So we're going to come from here into pigeon pose. So if you know where you're going, come straight in. Whilst taking the right foot up to the sky, coming through our three-legged dog. We're going to place that right foot behind the left wrist, coming down onto that right shin, taking that left foot back, so we're sitting down. If you need a little bit of height, you can, I haven't got one here actually, but you can take a block or something underneath, or a cushion or a rolled towel or something underneath that right hip to give it a bit of height, just so that the hips are in one line. So we're going to start coming up, gazing forward, sinking down into that hip, into that right glute. If this is not comfortable in the knee or in the hips, just hold fire for a second and I'll show you a variation on the floor. So bear with us just a moment. If you're here though, opening the chest and then starting to take the body forwards, taking the hands forwards over that leg, and then if it's comfortable here, starting to drop the head down and taking this as a completely passive stretch, really feeling that right glute releasing. If you want to have a go at the adaptive version on the floor, you can come down onto your back, taking the left foot to the floor, the right foot to the just over the left knee, keeping the head down on the ground. If you can, turning the toes of that right foot up towards you, linking the hands through, either holding onto the behind the thigh or behind the knee of that left foot, and then starting to draw the right knee away from the body, drawing the left knee in towards the body. So you'll feel that same stretch on the right glute. It's just a little bit softer on the knees and on the hips. So wherever you are, closing down the eyes, taking a few more breaths here, and just releasing down into the pose, softening through the upper body, softening through the shoulders, softening through that right glute. I'm going to stay here for another 30 seconds, another minute. So if you're down on the floor in pigeon, feeling that contact of the head down on the ground, that connection between the head and the ground really allows the mind to soften and keeps it free of any thoughts that might be coming and going. Okay, so slowly starting to draw the hands back in towards the body, coming out the way you went in, so tucking over that left toe, taking the right foot up to the sky. If you're on the floor in pigeon, just uncurling yourself and coming back through onto the other side. So coming straight on the other side if you're down on the floor, and if you're up, coming through downward facing dog, taking the left leg high, taking that foot behind the right wrist, taking the knee down and sinking down onto that other side. Again, keeping the hips nice and level, taking height underneath that left glute if you need it. Starting up nice and high, and then exhaling, folding forwards, coming down over the body, taking the hands forward. If you want some height underneath the head as well, it's quite nice to have a block or a bolster or something to rest your head down on so that you can feel that connection with the ground, helping to quieten the mind. And again, if you're in the reclining version on the floor, coming through, so taking the right foot this time on the ground, left foot on top of the right knee, taking the toes curling towards the knee, keeping the head down on the ground and then holding either behind that right thigh or holding a bit of a wobble, holding behind that knee, drawing the knee of the right leg towards you and the knee of the left away from you, keeping the lower back pressing into the floor, feeling that same stretch down the left glute. I'll stay here with you in the reclined version. Stay here for a few more breaths. Really slowing down now. Allowing the breath to be nice and long. Maybe closing down the eyes here. Sinking down into the mat wherever you are. If you're in full pigeon, just finding that contact between the head and whether it's a cushion or a block or the ground, just softening into that. And then slowly coming down, so if you're in full pigeon, taking that leg up to three-legged dog, and then coming down into downward facing dog, and then resting down in child's pose just for a moment, wherever you are. Taking the body forwards, taking the head down to the mat, and then coming up into your tabletop once again, preparing for frog pose. So coming to show you, maybe taking yourself to the long edge of the mat. We're going to take our knees wide here and taking our feet out behind the knees, but just slightly to the outside of where the knees are. So the feet are on the inside edge of the feet. If this is sore at all on the knees, you can roll the mat over so that you've got double protection on the knees. And we're going to keep our hips in line with the knees as we start to draw the body forwards and down, sinking the hips back. So as we sink the hips back, sinking the chest down, we start to feel that real intense opening on the inside of the groin. Again, if the head and the chest don't come quite down to the ground, you can take a block or some height underneath the head. And then again, resting here. So we'll be here for about a minute or so. It's quite strong. So just being aware of that sensation on the inside of the groin and then just allowing it to release as you sink down into the pose. So dropping. You possibly can't hear me so well if my head's on the ground, so I'll keep mine up. But keeping the head down on the ground, keeping the connection there, keeping the hands pressing down into the ground, and just breathing. If it starts to feel quite strong on the inside of the hips, that's okay. Just breathing through it, and the breath has been telling the body that actually it's okay, it's not in an emergency situation, it doesn't need to panic, it can just cope with it and just be soft and also be strong. Allowing all of those muscle fibers, those deep tissues to just release and soften here. Maybe keeping the eyes closed, if that helps you just to go deeper into the pose. And then slowly, when you're ready, drawing the hands back to the body, taking the knees, drawing the knees back together, and then coming up into our downward facing dog, just releasing one leg, releasing the other. Good. I'm going to walk the feet to the top of the mat, coming through to our seated. So we're going to take the legs wide here. So taking the left leg out, taking the right leg out, moving the flesh of the buttocks to the side. Just going to take a side stretch here. So taking the right hand to the inside of that right leg, keeping both legs really strong. We're just going to inhale, take the left arm up and start to come over the right leg with that left hand. Taking the gaze underneath that left armpit, keeping both legs really strong here, drawing the toes up towards the body. Feeling that opening down the left side of the body. And inhaling, coming back through center, taking the left hand to the inside of that left leg. Inhaling, taking the right arm up and over. Taking the gaze underneath that right armpit. Bending at that left elbow, that left hand on the floor. It might be higher, it might be here, it might be on the inside of the thigh. That's absolutely fine wherever you are. Feeling that opening down the right side of the body. Aiming to minimize that space underneath the knees, but keeping the legs strong. Good. And then inhaling, coming back to the center, drawing the feet in together, coming down now onto our backs. So we're going to take a half inversion here. Just going to press our feet on the ground initially, and then we're going to take our feet up to the sky, coming up into waterfall. So keeping the legs strong, keeping the head down on the ground, keeping the hands down on the ground, keeping the lower back pressing into the ground. Good. Keeping the gaze just up slightly. And then bending the knees, planting the feet down on the ground. We're just going to take a half bridge here just to undo our lower back. So keeping the hands where they are, and then we're going to inhale, raise the hips up, taking the chin towards the chest, really lifting the pelvis up to the sky, planting the feet firmly on the ground, and slowly, vertebra by vertebra, lowering the back down onto the ground, drawing the knees in towards the chest, rolling slightly from side to side, and And then coming through our final couple of postures, so taking happy baby now, so taking the hands in between the knees, taking hold of the outside blades of the feet, and then drawing the knees down towards the ground. Keeping the lower back pressing in to the ground. You might just rock slightly from side to side here, just massaging out the kidneys into the ground, releasing any toxins that are building up there. Otherwise, just finding stillness here and resting, letting that breath be long and slow. And then drawing the knees back in towards the body, coming now just into our final supine twist. So drawing the right knee in towards the body, taking the left foot out long, taking hold of that right knee with the left hand, taking the right arm out to the side, and then taking the knee over the body, taking the gaze over that left hand, over that right hand, just feeling that deep unwinding twist in the lower back, in the whole back. Allowing everything just to release here. Keeping that right shoulder pressing into the ground, so if that right shoulder tends to come up, just ease off slightly with that leg. That's absolutely fine. Inhaling, coming back to the center, squeezing that knee in, and taking that knee out long in front of you, taking the left knee in towards the body now, taking hold of that left knee with the right hand, taking the right hand, taking the left hand out to the side, and then drawing that left knee over the side. If you haven't got much space for the arms, you can bend that arm into like a cactus arm, taking the gaze over that left side, keeping that left shoulder planted down on the ground. Maybe closing down the eyes here. And then inhaling, coming back to the center, giving that knee a bit of a squeeze, and then taking both knees now into the body, having a final little roll out, side to side, taking here any final movements that you want to take before coming into our Shavasana. So maybe taking any socks or jumpers or blankets, whatever you might need, and then taking the legs out long in front of you, allowing the legs just to gently splay out to the sides, taking any micro movements that you need to here, just tucking the shoulders underneath the body, tucking the hips down, allowing the feet and the hands to splay out to the sides. Just make sure that your feet and your hands aren't touching anything, any belts or blocks or jumpers or anything, just allowing them to be completely free. And then just completely releasing here, so letting the legs move out to the sides, letting the arms move out to the sides, and just completely letting go. We'll be here for a couple of minutes. If you want to stay longer, that's absolutely fine. Just pause the video, stay here for as long as you need, and join back in when you're ready. So just focusing here on the breath, feeling the breath moving in through the nose, down into the lungs, filling up the body. And then as you exhale, releasing, expelling that stale air and releasing it back into the room. Feeling the body melting down into the mat as you release. Every exhale, just feeling yourself letting go. noticing here how the body feels, just recognising any areas that need particular energy guiding to them at the moment, and just directing the breath and the energy to those parts. And when you're ready, just slowly starting to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, bring a bit of life back into the body. In your own time, slowly making your way over onto your right side. Taking a couple of breaths here. And gently using the hands to guide the body back up, meet in a seated position, whether that's cross-legged or on your knees with your legs in front, that's up to you. Keeping the eyes closed, just taking a couple of breaths here. Feeling that moment of stillness. That's what you've worked towards for the last 40 minutes or so. Recognizing how the body feels. Does it feel any different to how you started? Taking the hands now, just resting on the knees. We'll take a few cleansing breaths, so taking a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let it all go. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. One more deep breath in and let it go. Taking the hands in front of heart center now, keeping the eyes closed, taking a moment here and gently rubbing the hands in front of the chest, generating some heat behind the palms and placing the hands over the eyes, opening the eyes when you're ready, behind the hands, and then taking the hands down in front of the heart center. Namaste everybody. Thank you. If anybody has any questions or comments or feedbacks, I'd love to hear how you're getting on, what you're thinking, what's going on for people at the moment. So do please send us a message. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody and answer any questions. And if there's anything particularly that anybody would like to see for next week's class, then again, add it in the comments, just let me know, and I'll do my best to incorporate things. So for now, have a great week and see you soon.